you from the PGI alma mater, and it's a great honor for us actually today to have 4 stalwarts of cardiology with us who have been from our parent institute, and they have accomplished great heights in their own field at various different places in the country. And I must say, Smith has made a huge effort in putting it all together. It's not easy to get. Can I request everybody to put their actually mics on the silent mode, because there is a lot of echoing happening. Yeah. So it's not easy that such busy cardiologists,
Samir, can you switch off other mics so that
yeah, that's fine. That's much better. So let me start the evening by thanking the 4 stalwarts from PGI for having spared their very valuable time to be with us. It is once in a lifetime opportunity for all of us to hear to them. And I know I will be very brief with their introductions, because they have had such illustrious careers that if I start enumerating all the achievements they have had in their careers, it will take a long time. And you all are more keen to listen to these stalwarts as to how life was at that time in PGI, because as residents, as senior residents, we always used to hear a lot about our seniors. We used to see their files, their notes in the files, and that is how we all used to make opinions about each other. But let me introduce from the first batch, Dr. B.S.Cheema, actually, along with Dr. P.C. Manoria, they were the second batch of PGI Chandigarh. I am told that the first batch was Dr. Mahapatra and Dr. Hema. Dr. Manoria was just telling me she was Dr. Hema Sachin, if I am right, Dr. Manoria. And both of them are possibly in US, so we could not be in touch with them.
Sorry, Gurpreet, can I give some the right picture on that? Because probably I was there. I can tell you who were the earlier ones.
That would be interesting, sir. Right, sir.
Dr. Hema was the first one, and then Dr. Brimanandan joined after 6 months of Dr. Hema. But Dr. Hema still had tough time. I mean, probably in the examination a couple of times. Those time the examiner, Dr. Sujabi Rai, used to come as the examiner, and you can't imagine the kind of what will be the profile of the whole cardiology ward and the office when he's around. Anyway, she left, and the Brimanandam, he did pass in the second attempt, but I must share with you his case on which he was failed. We are told he was right, because patient later on had autopsy, his diagnosis were right. But anyway, those are the days. And subsequently then, after that, Dr. Mahapatra came. So Mahapatra, of course, is in USA. Brimanandam, you all know, he is in Chennai. I don't know what is the present, but he was very. I mean, I think he was in the last medical council, was the vice chairman, and he was also the vice chancellor at one time in the medical university there. Of course, after that, I joined, and with me was Dr. N.J. Singh. Colonel N.J. Singh, he came from the army. And he also left in between. So then I think Dr. Raju came, Dr. Manoria, and Dr. Cheema. So this is the way, the initial part of the cardiology there. Thank you. Sorry to take your.
So that time one person was joining per every 6 months. Or?
Yeah, usually that was the thing.
So we can trace one of the 3 seniors which sir has told from Chennai. We will make an attempt, sir. Definitely, that's a useful addition to our information. So let me start by introducing the 4 in the order in which Dr. Talwar actually just told us how they joined this Department of Cardiology. And I'll start with Professor K.K. Talwar. Professor Talwar was born on the 30th of September in 1946. We all know, is from a close by place from Payal, and he was born to his parents, Shri Hazari Lalji and Shrimati Shiv Shakti Devi. I was fortunate actually because they were living in Ludhiana with Sir's brothers and sister, and I was very fortunate to get to meet them. A very simple couple, and always very loving and very caring. Sir was educated in the government school in Payal, and he actually stood first in the state at that time. He did his MBBS from the same place. I can see Dr. Gurpreet Sidhu here, and from where I am, and Dr. Sidhu is. And in fact, I'm so proud that Dr. Talwar also graduated from Government Medical College Patiala in '69. He did his MD in medicine from PGI Chandigarh in '72, and he did his DM again from PGI in '76. Sir was not only actually a distinguished scholar in his time, he also was very keen on hockey, and he was awarded the college color. He represented the university in the inter-university hockey tournament, and thus had a very multifaceted personality. He went to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences and rose to be the professor and head of cardiology in the All India Institute from 2002 to 2004, when Sir was also the sub dean there. He came back actually to serve his parent institute in 2004 as director of PGI, and we all know that is the time when PGI got really rejuvenated, and PGI, its old glory was replenished, and people at that time had some doubts as to the direction in which our alma mater was moving. But ever since then, he could taste it to its present glory. And we all know PGI is flourishing today as the Central Institute of Excellence, and is similarly some high-end research, excellent training program, and service to patients is happening. There was a director there from 2004 to 2011 when he retired, and then actually he never retired because he started as a president of the National Academy of Medical Sciences from 2012 to 2014. And there is actually no distinguished medical administrative responsibility which Sir has not fulfilled. He went on to rise to be the chairman of the Board of Governors of the Medical Council of India, when the Medical Council of India had its reputation at stake, and it actually needed a blemishless career and a man of very high integrity for the MCI itself to re-establish itself in the eyes of the people. And that is what Sir did at that time. But Punjab was lucky and fortunate that at that time, the Chief Minister of Punjab, Mr. Prakash Singh Badal, started utilizing his services, and he joined here as the honorary advisor to health in 2013. And ever since that time, actually, he's only one example where two successive governments have utilized the services, the experience, the expertise, and the excellent man management skills of Professor K.K. Talwar, and Sir is serving at present also the Punjab government. On the research front, you all know he started endomyocardial biopsy in the All India Institute. He was the first one in the world to find inflammatory myocarditis in Takayasu's arthritis, and he also showed that there are some anti-inflammatory drugs can be beneficial in this. He was the principal cardiologist in heart transplant program in All India Institute when it was started first time in our country in 1994. Sir's passion has always been electrophysiology. He started it in the All India Institute of Medical.
Sorry for interruption. His research, I must add something like, when we just joined, and he was doing his thyroid work thesis with Dr. Professor Rastogi, endocrinology, chief of endocrinology, and his work was published in Journal of Clinical Investigation at that time. DCI publication is out of this world.
Okay, so the roots were started during his post graduation itself, and subsequently he started interest in EP, in RFA, which he started actually in All India Institute and also in PGI when he came back. Of course, he was the first person in this country in 1997 to implant the first automatic implantable cardioverter defibrillator, the AICD. And then 3 years later, he was the first one in India to start the multi-site biventricular pacing in 2000. And for these two achievements, he twice has his name in the Limca book of records in our country. He has innumerable awards. I won't be able to enumerate all of those, but BC Roy National Award, SB Roy Young Investigator Award, Searle Award, Lifetime Achievement Award from CSI. These are some of the many, many awards which Sir won at that time. And then he was awarded the coveted, the third highest award in our country, the Padma Bhushan by the Government of India in 2006. Someone has very rightly said, अंदाज कुछ अलग ही है मेरे सोचने का, सबको मंजिल का है, मुझे रास्ते का है. और सर इस रास्ते पे अब भी चल रहे हैं. In fact, his contribution to the state of Punjab in terms of COVID scenario is remarkable. What he has been able to achieve in the civil hospitals of Ludhiana, Jalandhar, and I am sure in other cities is remarkable, because he has shaken the government system. He has been able to convince the government to recruit multiple doctors. Unprecedented number of healthcare personnel are being recruited, and medical education in medical colleges has improved. So we wish Sir all the best in the efforts that he is taking up, and we thank him for contributing enormously to PGI, and we all feel proud that he is an alumni of PGI. Secondly, I will introduce Professor P.C. Manoria, who is an equally distinguished academician. He, in fact, is a past...
We have a small video to play, sir, for Dr. Talwar, and then you can go ahead with Dr. Manoria. We have a video for Dr. Manoria also to play.
So let's have Dr. Talwar. Right. Smith, there are some issues with the video. I think we can run them maybe all together later if you feel.
As you wish, sir. We can do that also.
No, if it's moving, it's fine. Huh?
On my screen, sir, it's going well.
Okay, fine. Let's have it then.
Yeah, you have to unmute for the music, sir.
I did that. Yeah, we did that. Excellent video, Smith. I must say, covered so many aspects of Sir's such a diverse. I didn't know you have made such beautiful videos. So I'll be a little bit brief with the other biodatas because we have a lot covered in the videos that you have created. Dr. P.C. Manoria is a distinguished cardiologist from Bhopal, and he actually is unprecedented way. He has been the past president of the Cardiological Society of India, the Association of Physicians of India, the Indian College of Cardiology, and has been a dean of the Indian College of Physicians. I don't think any other individual, be it a cardiologist or a physician, has achieved all this in a lifetime. He was born on 10th of August in 1949. He studied in St. Joseph Convent School in Bhopal, and he's truly blessed. He has two sons, Pankaj and Piyush. They work with him in Manoria Heart and Kidney Hospital. One of them is a cardiologist, the other is a gastroenterologist. Dr. Manoria's very special interests are coronary artery disease, hypertension, lipids, and echocardiography. As someone has said, खत्म हो भी तो कैसे ये मंजिलों की आरज़ू, खत्म हो भी तो कैसे ये मंजिलों की आरज़ू, ये रास्ते हैं कि रुकते नहीं, ये रास्ते हैं कि रुकते नहीं, और हम हैं कि झुकते नहीं. Dr. Manoria has truly been very active. In fact, he has written 33 books, has delivered 500 lectures at various conferences, and won multiple awards at the API, at the CSI, at national conferences, including the Netaji Oration, the Master Teacher Award, and so many other awards he has won. We can have the video, Smith, for Dr. Manoria. Well, thank you, Smith. Let me now introduce Dr. Bhupati Raju Somaraju, who is the third distinguished PGI Cardiology Department alumni with us today. He was born on the 25th of September in 1948. He had his initial education from Andhra Pradesh. He did his DM from PGI in 77 and went on to do his PhD also in 1997. And we all know he's the first cardiologist in the country to have started a actually the care hospital was started where he collected a lot of cardiologists, and it was the first experiment of its kind. He started research at very early stage and could then go on to develop the famous Kalam Raju stent in 1998. In fact, he was awarded Padma Shri for his distinguished contributions in the field of cardiology in 2001. And he, along with Mr. Abdul Kalam, they formed the Kalam Raju tablet in 2012 for the computer tablet for healthcare in rural areas. He's also been awarded with multiple awards like the Asian Innovation Award in 1998, the Andreas Grundzig Award. And I would say बस इतनी सी बात पर हमारा परिचय तमाम होता है, बस इतनी सी बात पर हमारा परिचय तमाम होता है, हम उस रास्ते नहीं जाते जो रास्ता आम होता है. He has been a very special cardiologist, and all the PGI's subsequent DMs are so proud actually to say that Dr. Somaraju is from the same institute from where we are, and he is one of the actually leading lights of cardiology in the country internationally. So, Smith, can we have the video for Dr. Somaraju?
Yes, sir. There is a request that please do not click on the screen. That slows down the slides.
Okay.
Video.
early morning.
Well, thank you, Smith. Dr. Cheema was along with the batch. Dr. Cheema was actually from the army, and he had a very illustrious career in the army. He went on to become the honorary physician and cardiologist to the President of India in 1986. He headed the Department of Cardiology in Secunderabad. In fact, he established cardiology departments in multiple centers all across the country because he was one of the first cardiology DMs in the army, and he was the head of the department in the famous RR hospital for 8 long years. He made significant changes in the processes of the armed forces in terms of how cardiac disorders were taken. And as someone has said, ऐसा नहीं है कि मुझ में कोई ऐब नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं है कि मुझ में कोई ऐब नहीं है, पर सच कहता हूँ मुझ में कोई फरेब नहीं है. He's a very loved cardiologist all across the country since he has worked all over and is very widely popular. Let's have Dr. Cheema's video before we listen to each one of these 4 stalwarts when they share their experiences of PGI with us. Well, thank you, Smith, for these videos. And now I am sure everybody is very keen to listen to all 4 of these stalwarts. So we can ask them one by one as to what their experiences in PGI were, what were the pleasurable moments, what were the moments of hard work that they had put in, how subsequently their careers have been, and what is their advice to so many youngsters from PGI as to how to take and how to proceed with their careers. Can I request Dr. Talwar to initiate and then we can go on to the other 3 experts. Professor K.K. Talwar, please. Can you hear us, sir? Professor K.K. Talwar? Well, I can see Dr. Manoria for the time being. Can we start with you, Dr. Manoria, and then Dr. Talwar can take it secondly, sir, since you are there.
Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to hear? Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
So at the outset, I wish you all a very happy Independence Day. And first, I would like to pay tributes to my teachers, late Professor P.L. Wahi, late Professor P.S. Bidwai, and late Dr. H.N. Khatri. Dr. Professor P.L. Wahi, who was head of the Department of Cardiology, and besides cardiology, we learned great administrative skills from him. All of us were great admirers of Dr. late Professor B.S. Bidwai for his clinical acumen and great dedication in the bedside clinics. Late Dr. H.N. Khatri also was very popular among the postgraduates, and we all have lots of praise for him. But our most impressive teacher is Dr. Professor R.P. Sapru, who, besides showering pulse of electrophysiology, research, and new ideas, has always been the focus of attention for his lifestyle. He's perhaps the only teacher who used to come to the Institute on a bicycle, and he's still alive as a living legend. Studying at PGI was a unique and a memorable experience. PGI has several unique features. PGI Chandigarh has the unique feature that autopsy of all patients are available, and this is of immense use in rectifying our mistakes, particularly in 70s when modern imaging facilities like ultrasound, CT, MRI were not available. The morning clinico-pathological conference, which were conducted twice a week, were of immense learning. Secondly, special emphasis was laid on clinical cardiology in 70s, and you may not be able to believe that the diagnosis of various congenital heart disease like TDA, DORV, truncus, single ventricles were made clinically without echocardiography, and Professor Vidwai was a great clinical cardiologist, and we learned a lot from him. The bedside clinics of 70s, when echo was not available, are not seen in the current era because the postgraduates and teachers have an access to echocardiography and the final diagnosis of the case. Today, we often talk of a heart team for management of various cardiovascular diseases, but this was practiced in PGI even in 70s when we were there. Every patient before being taken for a catheterization lab was discussed in the common forum of cardiothoracic surgeons, cardiologists, and so also was the practice before taking any patient for surgery. No patient was taken for surgery unless he was discussed in a meeting. The punctuality of PGI in conducting scientific meeting is unique. All meetings begin exactly in time and finish on dot time. That was a great thing. Another thing which was prevalent in PGI in those days was the freedom of expression to the postgraduates, which is not the case with many other institutes. Expressing a difference of opinion with the teacher was not condemned, and that was indeed a great feature of PGI. The building, the surroundings, the environment in the cafeteria and cleanliness was enchanting. And the administrative skills of the then director, Dr. P.N. Chuttani, was very, very impressive. He was also unique in the sense that he used to take patients in the ambulance by going as an external examiner for MD examination in other cities. I have never seen an examiner taking patients in the ambulance for MD examination. After coming from PGI in 1977, I had served in the Department of Cardiology at Bhopal Gandhi Medical College in various positions and took voluntary retirement as head of the cardiology in 1998. And now we have our own hospital, Manoria Heart, Gastro and Liver Hospital at Bhopal. We are rendering all services to the patient like non-invasive cardiology, catheter interventions, cardiac surgery. My elder son, as you have already been told, is a cardiologist, and younger son is a gastroenterologist. I have served as national president of various associations, also as the chairman Hypertension Council, APSC, vice president SAR. But one thing I've noticed that most of us are busy in managing patients, and very little attention is paid to prevention of cardiovascular diseases, which are now the leading cause of cardiovascular morbidity and mortality. Time has come when we focus on primordial prevention and try to create a disease-free state, which is only possible by educating the kids for a healthy life in the primary school. The success of it has been documented by various trials in several countries, and all of us must devote time for preventive cardiology in our community to minimize the growing menace of cardiovascular diseases. Thank you.
Your experiences.
Thank you.
We will like to ask you subsequently your experiences, some good experiences, some tough times, because we all know DM and PGI is not all bed of roses. So there are some difficult times when we all go through, and that is how we are churned. May I request Professor K.K. Talwar to give us some of his feelings, and then we can have an interaction between all three of them.
Thank you, Dr. Gurpreet. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Very nicely.
You see, there has been some connection issues, so I probably missed some of the portion. I did listen to the part of the Dr. Manoria's very effective speech, I think, which he made about the PGI issues. And I don't know whether Dr. Raju has said anything up to now or not.
No, sir. After you, he will.
I think मैं रिक्वेस्ट करता है गुरप्रीत अगर मान जाओ तो पहले डॉक्टर राजू को कहिए वो सारा को कर देगा then.
Right, sir. Right.
जो होता था, so Raju, please, and then we'll sort of do something. Even he has the quality of sort of really what was happening that time.
Right.
Dr. Raju, sir.
So over to Dr. Raju.
Good evening to everybody, and thank you very much for making this occasion possible. Actually, I won't go through again everything. I think Dr. Manoria summarized everything about everybody we came across, particularly our teachers and the atmosphere there, the nature of the institution. Probably at that time in the country, PGI Chandigarh was the best medical institution in the country. I would say even better than All India Institute in discipline, timing, and academic atmosphere. And also, say when you say that you have a morning lecture starting at say 8 a.m., the presentation, the person presenting was there 20 minutes before, and the director of the institute, Professor Tutani, used to run to be there before 5 minutes before the meeting. That was the atmosphere. Then we learned all those things from all of them. And I won't say anything more except telling you we had the best of times. And also, it was a very tough place to work, as you are mentioning. At the same time, we had a wonderful, humorous instances. We used to enjoy every minute of our stay there. We used to go there at morning 7 a.m., return to room at 12 midnight. And it was voluntary, it was great enjoyment. As Talwar said, I think there is a tendency to take everything too seriously these days, both in medicine, medical practice, and the way we practice and the way we spend our time. And as you see, even in parliaments and legislature assemblies, there is no sense of humor at all. I'll tell you some jokes of that time. I'll come back to you. Finish with the rest of my colleagues. I'll tell you that some humorous occasions we had at that time, and I'll come back again. Thank you.
Gurpreet, I can just
ask me one thing about myself. Sorry, one thing about myself. You asked me. I had the fortune and I had the capability, special capability of surrounding myself with better people than myself. That includes the three cardiologists and all my colleagues. And
Gurpreet, I think Dr. Raju has kept the best part of the today. I think we will wait for that. But I must say, I think just 3-4 things, frankly, I think which was in that environment, which gave us the strength to probably pursue our things further and fight for our existence. One was the hard work. I think that place taught. He rightly said the discipline that was taught. And one was very major thing was comradeship. I mean, we all, I mean, you couldn't suppose you had somebody helping, your colleagues were there to help you with nothing. That was such kind of a comradeship. And I think there was one more learning in that place that I think one gained. And one when I joined AIMS, to which helped me a lot to little fight in that environment in the beginning, was that kind of if you're trained to, as I said, comradeship. Other was how you have to sort of make sure to present yourself. Like in the lecture meetings, when you have to present something, I mean, you will always tell some of your friends, "Yaar, ye sawal yaar karke puch lena," so that I can answer that. You're sure that out of 3 questions if asked, 2 will be answered. So I mean, this was a way of, this was also learning. I think there's nothing wrong in that. This kind of thing, that how you have to make sure that you must sort of do your best possible ways. So I think it was a very wonderful time, and I was fortunate to go back. I mean, I never thought in my life that I will go back to PGI, but that's also a story and was a coincidence. But frankly, at the end of my stay there, though I think many of my colleagues, when I was to join, dissuaded me that what are you doing? Because there were some issues going on that time, and by God's grace, I was doing well. But then I must say, at the end of the journey there, I think it was a very, very fruitful, enjoyable, and I think we could do many things. And so I think, I mean, thank Samit and you both. I was seeing Dr. Yashpal was here that's night, and then I saw Mandeep Bhargav also in between. So maybe there are a few others. Maybe I am not able to get there. Mandeep, good evening. I'll say good morning for you, Mandeep.
Good morning, sir. It's an absolute pleasure to hear you and to hear everybody else. I am just honored and was looking forward for this occasion, and happy Independence Day to everybody.
Thank you so much. And I think Mandeep, it's a proud for all of us that what Mandeep is doing in Cleveland. So I think there are certain many who have done similar kind of proud to PGI. I think thank you so much, Mandeep, for being here. And I think Samit choosing this Independence Day. And I wish I would have sort of other faculty member of the PGI. They are really, I must say, there's a very hard working team at the moment, Raju. Many of the surgical things which are happening, you probably may not have imagined that time, and you must be remembering your surgical colleagues. And I don't want to share with you what I did when I joined back to sort of change that kind of environment. Anyway, thank you so much again, and repeat again. I think over to Dr. Cheema if he wants to. He was our main support, and being from the army, we always look towards him for all kind of guidance and help.
Dr. Cheema, sir, please. Actually, we used to implant questions to our friends, but I never thought that stalwarts like Dr. Raju and Dr. Talwar and Dr. Manoria would also be doing so. At least I'm reassured.
No, I'm not sure whether Raju was doing, but I was doing.
What we were doing was not off the track, sir.
Sir, while Dr. Cheema is coming, sir, you can have the memento and shawl also.
Oh, Sumit, it is. Thank you so much. You have sent us, but I will have to pick it up. But so grateful to you. But anyway, that's fine. If you want me, I can bring it here. But I think I'll send you the photo with that. Okay?
Right. Sir.
Or if you want me to bring it, it's lying in my other room. I never thought you'll have to.
I think rest of us also will do the same thing.
Right, sir.
I think rest of us also will do the same thing.
Good. I will send you the photo.
So let's have.
I think, sir, we are more interested in your discussion as well. Basically, sir, we all had great fun.
Sumit, I request you give the time to Raju. You will have the best sort of reflection of those days.
So I'll start with Manoria. Manoria was 1 year senior to me. We used to be on night duty in internal medicine plus cardiology, both. We have to do internal medicine night duties as well as night duties in cardiology. Before I go to cardiology, Manoria I'll come to. I was on internal medicine night duty once, and there used to be around, say, 6 beds on medical side and 6 beds on surgical side. And that was the only emergency room available around, in and around those few states actually. All sick patients used to come. When I was on night duty one day, early morning, Professor Vahi comes early morning with a pen and a notebook. He used to come and ask details about each patient and find out how many beds are vacant and how many beds are transferred and all that. So on that day morning when he came, I said, there are no patients, sir. Then he naturally, when all the beds are vacant, he is very happy. But he turned back again and said, what happened? Why is so many beds vacant? He said, all of them died, sir. I said. So he didn't know what to say. That used to be like that. Then he used to share that joke with everybody, actually. It's not a joke, actually real. So then Manoria. Manoria, are you hearing? Manoria got a call in the night for a temporary patient. And then in the middle of the night, he sent back that person to me saying, request Raju to go because I was 1 year junior to him. So then he is not able to come. And next day morning when I didn't ask in the night why you are not coming. Next day morning when I asked him why did you not come for a patient, he told me he had jaundice 10 years ago.
Sorry?
He had jaundice 10 years ago. That is the reason why he didn't come. Okay. I won't take away all your time except telling you some of the things Professor Khatri, one of the best human beings we came across. The rest of the faculty, Manoria already spoke. But he was also a source of great fun. And he is seemingly not nice to you, but he was a wonderful person, always meant well. One of the days in CT ward, we used to call that, and he was taking a round. I was the registrar in charge of the ward, and there were MD residents, and he used to ask questions. Then bed number 1, he asked some question, nobody answered. Bed number 2, 3, also nobody was answering. 4th bed he came, and then again none of the residents were answering. Then he said, "Aap sab gadhe hain," he said. Then when somebody said, "Aap sab gadhe hain," these days everybody goes on strike. But it was not like that. The atmosphere was not like that. We were used to that with him. One of the residents bent in front of him and said, "Aapke bacche hain, sir." Then he said by his name and said, "You have no brains, but you have a sense of humor. I appreciate," he said. So then he used to make it so difficult for us. Once I wrote a letter to Professor Vahi. Said, "Sir, Professor Vahi, kindly grant me leave for one day as I am suffering from Professor Khatri. I'll come back to you if you want some more jokes, but share it with others also meanwhile."
Dr. Cheema is there. Well, we can have others also come in. Actually, Dr. Yashpal is there, but I will tell you, Dr. Raju, one of our experiences. Dr. K.S. Rao, I just saw 10 minutes back. He was here, and he was actually Lieutenant Colonel from the Army, and he was 6 months senior to us. So Dr. Khatri, whenever some VIP would come, Dr. Khatri used to allot that case to Dr. K.S. Rao, and he would never allot that case to us. So we used to feel Dr. K.S. Rao is like us. What is so special? We tried to look at, does he enumerate the history better, physical science better, what happens? Then one day one of us said that Dr. K.S. Rao, when he presents that case to Dr. Khatri, then Dr. Khatri will say, "Yes, Colonel K.S. Rao, what is the history?" So if Dr. Khatri, he is presenting and saying "sir" to Dr. Khatri Dr. Khatri immediately becomes a brigadier. So if he presents to a person like us, he doesn't become anything. So probably that was the secret. People thought that Dr. K.S. Rao was getting the VIP patients allotted to him. So that sort of, Dr. Khatri was actually a matter of discussion with all of us rather than at any time.
Before others are ready, I'll just tell you two stories. Professor Sapru was extremely brilliant and a man of brains actually. And then he used to be particularly interested in electrophysiology, electrocardiogram, and particularly for any difficult ECG, we used to go to him. I think some of you may have to mute.
Yeah.
Whenever you went with an ECG for him, with him to ask for your opinion, you used to ask for a long strip. Do you remember Talwar?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. Then you went with a long strip. Then you used to look at it and say, I want the longest strip. Then we used to go back with the longest strip available. Those days it was not a 12-lead electrocardiogram, it was a long strip. So then we used to just look at it and say, yes, it's interesting. That's all. The opinion is over. The audio, is it available to all of you well?
We could hear you well. There is some echo, but we are
I request others to switch off their the echo won't come then.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling me. To be the great Talwar, I have done my job as per rules. Whatever little I could bring, what I learned in PGI Chandigarh. Only point is missing in PGI is the clinical cardiology is slowly disappearing. We should try to revise that. And good old bedside will come up. Otherwise, I learned enough in PGI and from my friends like you. So, that way, we should try to stress more on the clinical than looking at the report and doing the treatment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Some of us.
Can I tell a story about Vaidyanathan?
Yes, sir.
He was a registrar in urology. So he used to be in charge of consultations every month. We used to rotate. And Professor Bapna was the leading urologist of the time in the country. And prostate surgery used to carry very high rate of complications and morbidity, mortality those days. It was a difficult surgery those days. But PGI was one of the leading centers at that time. So I'll tell you, the consent, he used to come in the evening after 5 p.m. when you go for a round and all that, the attendants were also allowed. The patient was for surgery next day, and he used to come and talk to the patient. He used to come and tell, Baba ji, आपको कल ऑपरेशन होना है. मैं अभी बताना है आपको, ये ऑपरेशन में बहुत लोग मर जाते हैं. Then the whole family used to be around the patient, and then all of us start crying, including the patient. He will wait almost 3 to 5 minutes. Then used to say, कभी कभी बच भी होते हैं. Used to say, that was the way it used to be, and because there was no other place other than PGA for anyone to go. That was the way it used to be. So if you want more stories, I'll tell, but otherwise I'll stop here.
No, we want more, but this is a good way of consenting, sir. Sir, we want to listen from you. What was your experience with Abdul Kalam? Everybody is very curious, actually. How was your interaction, and how could you create the stent at that time? Just share some thoughts as to that was a landmark, actually. Similarly, we would like to know from Professor Talwar what was his experience when the first heart transplant happened in India, because those are some landmark things which you people have been able to achieve, and all of us are very keen. What was the feeling, what were the thoughts, and what were the issues?
Talwar, please go ahead.
Okay, I think Raju, we will like to hear you from that angle more. But anyway, just Gurpreet, you mentioned about the transplant issue. I think there was Dr. Venugopal was keen to initiate. We start working, and somehow or the other, I was involved in cardiac muscle diseases for a long time and doing regular biopsy. So this patient, which was lying with us, we kept him for 2 months just to see, because by any day we may get a heart. For 2 months he was in the ward, the first patient who went for transplant. Then in the evening we came to know there is a heart from somewhere accident. We brought the brain dead person to the institution. Anyway, so the family also agreed. So the transplant was done, started late in the evening, virtually in the night, and was over around 6:45. So that was probably great news for the country, that first transplant at 7 o'clock. So we were all in the OT and left in the morning. So I think that was a great thing for AIMS, because I must say something, that as per when I left PGI, though we know the regimentation, the hard work, PGI was there, but I must say in cardiology there, maybe other department I don't know, but cardiology, the discipline was as good as in PGI. And 8 o'clock was 8 o'clock. Dr. M.L. Bhatia will be 1 minute earlier than 8 o'clock. You will never find that he is late. So I think the same kind of a discipline that one has seen in PGI was there. And of course, infrastructure-wise, AIMS was far ahead than PGI at that particular time. So I think, of course, PGI was a more cohesive place. Each one could depend upon each other. That probably was little had some this issue. But so first transplant, 3rd of August, 1994. This is the month of August, so that's very big news. And I must say, it gives a PG AIMS a very great kind of a push, because what was happening since late 80s or early 90s, Scott has come, Apollo had come, these private hospitals were coming, and all the VIP was mostly deviating to the private hospital, and the institutions were losing that kind of a impact, because these people will take care of them. They will do all kind of things to please them. So anyway, AIMS and of course PGI were struggling those days. But of course, many things happen in the private which brought them into focus, these institutions, because of the credibility, ethical kind of aspect of the work. Of course, the transplant gave AIMS cardiology, cardiac surgery, great push in the nation, and I think that was a great day for AIMS cardiology and cardiac surgical department.
For the whole country, actually, sir, it was such a network. Yeah, absolutely.
I must also add to what Talwar said. Those were the days when surgeons were the heroes, and they were very difficult to even talk to. Am I right or wrong? And as a rule, the cardiologists and surgeons never talk to each other. Even then, you made it possible. Congratulations. So then,
tell us the Kalam Raju sent also.
Yeah, it was it was around 90s, 89, 90. We came across each other, and he was in DRDO as a director there in Hyderabad. One of his colleagues fell ill at that time, and he was admitted with us with a very difficult arrhythmia, and anti-arrhythmic drugs were not available. He got drugs from Germany actually that time, and finally he recovered, and he was Professor Arun Tiwari. Later he joined us, and we worked together actually. He was also involved in development of the stent. And actually what happened was, when Professor Kalam came, Dr. Kalam came, we used to visit the cath lab and see us working, and we used to do angioplasties, but without stents those days. And stents just came that time, Johnson & Johnson stent. That used to cost around 75,000 rupees per patient in 89, 90, around 90s. 91, I think, they introduced. So then when we told him it's so costly and people can't afford it. emergency surgeries post angioplasty used to be around 7 to 12%. Then we told him this, and then he said, "Why can't we make it ourselves?" But as you know, we doctors don't ever believe that everything new can be done. Then he said, "It is very difficult, sir, impossible to do. There is a lot of technology involved, and there was no internet those days, and it's all highly secrecy, and nobody had any knowledge about how to develop a stent and what it consists of and all that." Dr. Kalam said, "Let me talk to my colleagues back, and then we will get back." Then we met a few times after that, and Dr. Kalam's colleagues and all of us. There was a Midhani. They were specialized in this metallic research, and they came out. And between Midhani, DRDO, we were at Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences. I was the chief of cardiology at that time, and so it took us next 3 to 5 years for us to come out with the stent. And then when we started, by that time we moved out of say Nizam's Institute by 93, and then the stent was made available. But there was no animal lab available that time, and we had to do some animal work. When we asked outside for each animal implant, they were asking around 5 lakhs that time. Yes. Nobody can afford could afford that type of money. So we used to raise the sheep ourselves, and one of the cardiologists was in charge of sheep actually at that time amongst the team. So he used to take them for grazing around. By the time we were in the outskirts of the city, in Medicity, and then we used to have only one cath lab. So we had to take the sheep in the middle of the night secretly to the cath lab and implant the stent. The moment it was very easy to implant in the circumflex territory in a sheep. Actually, automatically it goes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
Then the moment we used to implant the stent, within 5 minutes it used to close off, and the sheep had VF and cardiac arrest and used to die. Around 9 to 10 sheep died that way. After some time, we found it very difficult how to carry with this on. So by the time of the third sheep dying, by the time we were taking the sheep in, all the hospital staff at 12 o'clock used to come and wait outside so that they could cook it in the night. So then finally, at some point, we realized
you should have taken the same kind of consent from the sheep's relatives as the surgeon was.
And by that time, then we realized that when we implant a stent in a diseased artery, sizing the stent was not a big issue because there was already narrowing and some firmness at that time. And the stent used to sit, and it never closed immediately. Those high pressure stents were not, high pressure concept was not there at that time. So then optimal stenting, we used to call it. And so then we realized that we have to oversize the stent. To oversize the stent, maybe it will happen. Then when we started oversizing, no sheep died, actually it went on. And after implanting a few stents that way, we started implanting in human beings, and everything went on well. And then the stent costed only 10,000 rupees that time, and later 6,000. And some of my colleagues started taking interest in it, and they developed now all the recent stents also called releases, including drug-eluting stents and all that. So the reason why all this happened is that Kalam never believed that anything cannot be done. So
that's the spirit.
But it was not easy for us to believe it, but he made it possible. And it all was possible because of many of my colleagues, including grazing the sheep. I told you, I surrounded myself with better people than myself. That was the reason why it happened. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I must, Gurpreet, just to mention that when we requested Dr. Kalam to come for the convocation, so he invited Dr. Raju especially. So that was his kind of relation.
Commitment and okay, sir. Dr. Manoria, any thoughts you would like to share? How was it to leave the government medical college, put up your own setup? What problems you assume you could handle at that time, and how was your initial experience in the government sector and in the private sector?
Whenever we put up a hospital in a private sector, whether the hospital will run or not, because you have to take a lot of loans. So we have to take a calculated risk and then initiate the hospital. But luckily, our hospital always ran well, and we have no problems from the financial aspect of it. And now I have my son, the younger son is also a gastroenterologist. So we have the cardiac and hepatologist, and he also done diploma in chest. So we have most of the specialty covered by both of them.
Well, thank you, sir. Before we close, Smit, you have some questions, and we can open it actually. Dr. Yashpal, I can see Dr. K.S. Rao was here 6 months. Anybody else wants to make a comment before we finally say goodbye? Smit, you have some comments?
If I may get a chance to
please,
say a few things, Dr. Gurpreet, thank you.
Sure.
So first of all, it's a very memorable and exciting session to be in. It's an absolute honor to be in the middle of all these stalwarts that I think from our perspective, I would like them also to know that although I did my DM 20 years, almost 2 decades after they graduated, they were the talk of the times. Everybody knew about them being among the first batchmates. And that brought a lot of pride to people who followed them. Because just as important as it is that they say that they're from PGI, for people down the road, they said that, we are from the institutes where people like Dr. Raju, Dr. Talwar, Dr. Manoria, and Dr. Cheema have been. I think one of the things that none of their awards can say is the kind of respect they have from their students for being the mentors they have been. And I think people can be cardiologists, people can be clinicians and researchers, but the legacy that you leave is best, exhibited and exemplified by your mentors. And, the humility that they have, like you can see Dr. Raju, every second minute he's saying that, I have this habit of surrounding myself with people better than me. That's his way of saying things, but we all know what the reality is. I actually have never had the pleasure and privilege to work with Dr. Raju, but I've followed through my friends because, as you know, there was a time when everybody who graduated from PGI was either working in Hyderabad or within 20 miles of Hyderabad. So Dr. Raju is the one who initiated this concept, which I'm not even sure exists to that point anywhere in India. This concept of group practice, where he was at Nizam's, he was at Medicity, he was at CARE, and people used to just move with him overnight, just because they were so mesmerized by the fact that they are working with Dr. Raju. It doesn't matter whether they are doing electrophysiology or interventional cardiology or imaging. The fact that they are part of a team was made elite by the fact that Dr. Raju was the leader of the team. Actually, a lot of my interest in EP also came from the fact that Dr. Raju held this seminar in CARE Hospital. And there was a time, where it is very important for people to know that many times, especially in interventional and operative specialties, it can be very frustrating for people who are junior to you because they feel that they're not getting the ability to learn the skills that they think they would like to learn. And people above you have to be willing to be your godfathers or willing to be giving, and that is the kind of sentiment that Dr. Raju has been famous for kind of nurturing and developing. And I salute you for your leadership on that, Dr. Raju. I had the last privilege to interact with you in these common sessions that, CARE Hospital and Cleveland Clinic have had. So during that time, it was obviously very pleasurable to interact with you and be with you and be around you. So I thank you very much for all this legacy that you leave, and I really would like to put that on appreciation.
Thank you,
Similarly,
Mandeep.
for Dr. Talwar,
carry on.
I mean, I have never had the opportunity to work at AIMS or PGI with him, but from a distance, he has always been an inspiration on many accounts. I think it seems we have lost him again at this point of time. Is Dr. Talwar there? I don't think he's there right now. So if possible, I would like to try and put these comments at a time when he is back logged on.
Yes, I think I am back, Mandeep. I'm able to hear you.
Okay, good. Okay. So thank you, Dr. Talwar. So, again, my interactions with Dr. Talwar, as a student in PGI, we've all talked about Dr. Wahi, Dr. Bidwai, Dr. Khatri, and I was there from 92 to 2002 when I did my residency in medicine. So Dr. Khatri and Dr. Khatri was the only person who was still there, and he was there when I was in MD. So I never had the pleasure of being his student in cardiology. I just had the pleasure of taking care of him when he was sick, and Dr. Wahi, but had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Bidwai off and on. But those stories carry on. And Dr. Talwar, I was told, I never knew, but when I did my MD thesis, I was told that he was the reviewer of that. And then I had the pleasure to meet him only once he became the director. And then I had the pleasure to visit PGI when he was the director. And he was very, very, very gracious with his comments. I could see that it requires a very delicate balance to maintain such high positions, because no position at that level comes without any controversy. So I don't think that, the toughness that he would show, and on the other hand, the mentoring he would show is something that would always go without criticism, because not everybody can be happy. But I can tell you, Dr. Talwar, from a distance, that from each of these positions you have kind of attained and, been such a stalwart with, that ability to, you are the face of physicians, of cardiologists, among the politicians, among the national media. And I think that you have done a great job of representing that. It was my absolute pleasure to have you here, to host you for some time at the clinic. And, it was just such a proud moment to just be with you. And as I said, I have never directly been your student, but you've always been an inspiration through many sources, because PGI and AIMS have such a close relationship that a lot of my friends in AIMS also were almost like, through them, I was your student. So similarly with Dr. Manoria, I follow through all your enthusiasm for teaching, your enthusiasm for putting evidence-based medicine into perspective. Dr. Cheema, the humility of all of you. I think just as the Institute is something that you are all proud of, I think the Institute is equally proud of each one of you, and we are, because a lot of our identity also comes from the fact that you gave it the name that it has today. So I think from all those aspects, it is just a pleasure and privilege to be part of this elite group. And Smit is making a great stride in terms of projecting this and helping share this in the appropriate perspective. And it's just an honor. And thank you so much for giving me this time, all of you.
Thank you, Mandeep, for really expressing the sentiments of all of us who have subsequently done their DMs. And so beautifully you have summarized the amount of respect that we have for these four great individuals who are actually benchmarks from PGI. May I ask anybody else, or Smit can summarize in the end, but anybody else wants to make a comment? Dr. Yashpal.
Dr. Wanda, I'll just have it 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
I just want to, it was really very nice to listen to all. I just want to tell that out of my first 30 years, 1 year I worked with Dr. Chatani. He used to tell each and every story, Professor Perry, Eka, Lahore, Medical College, Amritsar. In fact, over when I was in PGI also, he used to call for dinner, and discussion used to be for 1 to 2 hours sometime, and lot of discussion. So everything he used to tell in his own words, it used to be very nice, and it was very in Punjabi and all. So it was very good experience. In fact, about all Dr. Somaraju, Dr. Cheema, he used to tell me at what time, how this cardiology started, how this department came. Just one joke I want to tell Dr. Gujral. Professor Gujral was very in that way. In the last stages, he used to come to PGI. In fact, when he was here, I joined residency at that time. But later on, when one thing I just told him, sir, if you raise the hemoglobin from 11 to 15, the valve regurgitation, everything gets, there is no need for valve placement. He said in Punjabi, Yashpal, tu mainu pehle kyun nahi dassya? Assi sara hi galat karte aaye hain. Main Dr. Chog sahab nu dassunga. Main na creatinine bhi theek ho jandi hai, sab kuch theek hunda. It was so in that way, and he became emotional. Ki Yashpal, tu pehle kyun nahi dassya? So just as I used to discuss, sometimes things go on evolving, and in PGI, as you know, we could reduce the mortality. And in 2007, we were the first to start Kalam Somaraju stent here. We put in 73. The question went up to Parliament, and there also we endorsed that it is a good stent, and now whole of this Indian-made stents at par with or better than some of the stents. It is PGI and Ayushman treatment for all cardiac shock. The PGI has taken the lead in reducing the mortality of acute coronary syndrome. It has guided for whole of the world the line of action for COVID also, as you see that in first of July and in many webinars it was discussed. So your legacy is being continued. I humbly submit that PGI will stand out to be number 1 in the world in cardiology center in the coming 4 or 5 years only, because the 7 lakh patients who died just now, in the future, million patients will be saved every year, even post-COVID. So that is our claim we have put in this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Yashpal. Thank you. Smit.
Sir, I first of all, sir, would like to thank everyone, sir, because without everyone's participation, this would have not been possible. And I was afraid, because talking to these many greats, that they'll agree to my request to them. And I'll just define how I define or how I tell my students at medical college how PGI is once Dr. Talwar said that if you even roam through the corridors of PGI, you will be a lot better than many MDs from many other medical college. And that is how PGI has polished me. It has given me everything that I could, and therefore I am very thankful that this meeting was possible. And I hope that this participation goes on. I have become emotional. It seems like it's a family occasion, and that is all I can say, sir.
Thank you, Smith. It is your charm that these 4 stalwarts of cardiology agreed to come. And I, for once, have never seen Professor Talwar. We have endeared him, we have loved him, we have respected him from the core of heart. Never seen him enjoying. Probably he likes Dr. Manoria's and Dr. Raju's. Whenever Dr. Raju speaks, one can make out his file comes back. So this is the comradeship that you have of someone with whom you have done your DM. And let me thank you, sirs, from the core of my heart, that you could spare this valuable time. We have respected all our life, all of you, and we will continue to be having you as our role models, and on the path that you have been. All of us are following that thread to the best of our abilities and capabilities. Keep on leading us as you have always done, and keep on being our role models always. Thank you very much, sir. And no words. Thanks, Smith, for having brought these four stalwarts to this meeting. Thank you everybody for Mandeep, Dr. Yashpal, K.S. Rao, I can see Dr. Sidhu, so many people. Thank you everybody for having spared your valuable time. Thank you.
One request I want to make. I believe some of you meet together for continuing medical education. Please keep us informed. We want to join once in a way whenever we are free.
Sir, we right now have it every alternate Saturday at 8 p.m. And I post it through mail, through Facebook, and through WhatsApp.
Okay, we'll get back to you on that.
And actually,
for our next two meetings, Dr. Manoria and Dr. Raju have to be the chairpersons. We have to request.
Well, I'll make sure of that, sir. But from September onwards, sir, I'm planning it to have it once in a month, because now I think everyone would be busy post-COVID. So once in a month, we'll have it on Saturday at 8 p.m. sir. That schedule we have charted for around next 12 classes. I call it as master class. So PGI master class is for scheduled for next 12, and I'll rather be very happy that and obliged that if you have good topics and that you can suggest good speakers and chairpersons also.
Thank you.
One special thanks I would like to give to Samir sir, who has done all videos and presentations. Sir, it was his real hard work that it made this thing possible, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Smit again, and Raju. The best, Mandeep.
Yeah, and I can tell that by looking at Dr. Talwar's reactions, I think there are still a lot of censored jokes that Dr. Raju has. So as moderator, those are what we want, not the questions from you.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you.
Okay, thank you so much, Smit again.
Thank you.
And everyone. Thank you.